when did so you collected music, traded music, the phonographic part of this, because this is amazing that you have, glommed onto these precious recording devices that will probably outlive most of the world.
They already have.
Yeah. When did that fascination begin, and how did you procure them over the years? Did you get a first one from some grandma's addict, or and then do you go on? I told you a little bit once when we were talking about my sister. She'll go on, and look for old sewing machines on, Craigslist and all these other.
Right.
How do you find your crank ups? Is that what I like to call, because they crank up and they have a horn, and that's a phonograph.
Well, like I said, as I was growing up, I was always a record collector.
Mm-hmm.
And I became interested in going further and further back in the history of pop.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a teenager in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started to think, okay, well, what was popular? Who was popular in the 60s? Who were the big singers and songs of the 60s? How about the 50s? And they were always sort of around. You always knew Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
You always knew the Beatles. You always knew certain big groups. But what about the 40s?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, the big band era, Glenn Miller
Mm-hmm.
and the Dorseys, those kind of people. What about, and I started thinking, what about the 30s? What about the 20s?
Mm-hmm.
What about the 10s? What about the zeros? How far back can you go? And I started to do a little research by going to the library. Remember when you had to go to the library to do research?
I love the library still.
For the internet?
Yeah, but it's still fun to go there. But yeah, the internet helps you out a lot now too. But
Well, so I started to research it and see that, this is the technology that they were using. They were the crank-up spring-driven machines, and that's what people used to play back on.
Right, and they have it's a cylinder that it reads.
Well, this is a cylinder player, yes. Right. There are cylinder and disc players.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, wouldn't it be fascinating to start to listen to some of that music? And there wasn't a lot reissued on LP or CD of the aughts and the teens.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like a forgotten, lost period of music.
Right.
So one day I was at a yard sale. Someone had a Victrola for sale.
Wow.
And I thought, this is the opportunity for me to get one of these. And it was filled with 78 RPM records. I thought, this is my chance to try to play it. Started playing it, figuring out, why does it sound so bad? I didn't know what I was doing. Then I found someone, a local person, who was also a collector. Well, I wasn't a collector at this point. He was a collector. He was able to mentor me, teach me about it, tell me what books to get, what to start reading, continue to do some music, do research in the library. And then got another machine, started to see them, start to understand the period more, started to take the machines apart.
Yeah, because you know how to fix them. We'll talk about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty simple machines. Learn to take them apart, clean them, get them working properly.
Get the right tension and all those kind of things. That's why it reminds me of my sister with those old sewing machines, because it's different as sewing, but it is about tension and having the right.
Yeah, it's a spring, it's gears, it's grease, it's oil, it's lubrication, it's acoustics.
Right.
There's no electricity involved in this recording or playback process.
Right. So to hear it like that is amazing.
Yeah.
So
I was always a listener. I had a wide interest in all kinds of music.
Mm-hmm.
And WFMU is a free-form radio station.
Right.
At that time, they were out of East Orange, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Now their studios are in Jersey City.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a free-form station, so every program is different.
Right.
You could hear a punk rock program, then hear a spoken word program, then hear a radio play program, then hear a classical music program. So they turned me on to a lot of different kinds of music.
Right.
Got me away from listening to just album-oriented rock radio.
Right.
And I thought, well, as I started to listen to this music, I thought, this is a whole lost period of music. You don't hear it anywhere.
Right.
It's so unavailable. I would like to share this with people. So I contacted the station and said, I have an idea for a radio show. I want to bring 3 machines down, 1 cylinder machine and 2 disc machines down, put a microphone in the horn, and let people hear what these period records and machines sound like.
They're probably
they thought this is the most unusual out there radio show I'd ever heard before. Let's do it. And that was 1995.
Yeah, you started 5 years after I started my show. We're probably on the same wavelength.
So I just had my 20-year anniversary in October.
Right.
And It's me in the studio with a machine like this plus 2 disc machines, the horned gramophone, and a Victrola, which is kind of a wood cabinet machine.
Yeah, those are cool.
And just playing all sorts of records. I don't play just what are my favorite records. I think it's my opportunity to play all kinds of records from the period. Classical, opera, pop, instrumentalists, early jazz, early blues, early country, unusual ethnic records, just letting people hear what people might have been able to buy and how they listened
And
over
it takes
100
you
years
back in
ago.
time, like lets you kind of step back, the
Absolutely.
listener.
The sound.
And you do too, which I looked at one of the videos, saw the one with the children in school, but I also saw the one at Lincoln Center, and you do it so well because you have a great speaking voice too. Such a wonderful history that you provide. You story tell the history of the period and the music and the musicians, and it's just really remarkable.